Good morning, those of you who are joining us. We're waiting for just a few more people to come on. Just a couple of reminders to go ahead and keep yourself muted unless you're speaking. That'll help cut down on background noise. So just give us a couple more minutes and we'll get ready to go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. It's 8:33. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dixie Johnson, the CEO of the Sheridan County Chamber of Commerce, and we're very pleased to be able to partner with the Downtown Sheridan Association this morning to provide an e-commerce training session. This is kind of our first training session that we're having, and we're using Zoom, as you know, so we're learning as we go. A couple of reminders, just keep yourselves muted. That way it'll cut down on background noise. If you would like to ask questions to the panelists, you can go ahead and unmute yourselves. You can also ask questions via chat. On the panel today, we have Stefan Mullins with Red Bison Studio joining us. We have Kendra Barney with The Paint Post. They're both located in Sheridan. We also have Jason and Shanna White, owners of This Joyful Home in Ranchester, as well as Adam Bunker with Papa Joe's Produce here in Sheridan. In addition, we have Eric Kolvinskas, who has Big Shifter, and I don't know, we may have another panelist, Johnny Law may jump on with The Only Co. And then also Melissa Butcher with Confluence Collaborative had hoped to be on, wasn't able to join us, but is available if anybody has questions. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the Executive Director of Downtown Sheridan Association, Zoila Perry. Zoila?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you guys for being on Zoom this morning. Okay, so my first question is, what platform are you using and for how long now? What are the top three things you like about it? And we'll start with Steven.
Yeah, so I use Big Commerce, and so I've been using that I think for about 4 years. And so the things that I really like, they just released a new phone app, and that was within the last 4 or 5 months. And before it was pretty clunky. It was hard to get notifications of orders, and it was hard to get kind of track everything. But now with the app, everything's just on my phone, which I really like. I would say though that for the most part, everyone I talk to says that BigCommerce isn't as easy to use as Shopify. So I have really been pushing around the idea of jumping from BigCommerce to Shopify, just because for the most part, and a lot of the businesses here in town that I've talked to use Shopify. But the other things I do like is the ease of status change when I get an order. And then it's also easy to print a packing slip. I do a little note for each packing slip and then just kind of get the thing out the door. So streamline that way.
Thank you. Kendra, how about you?
Yep, so we use Shopify, and we actually switched from Etsy to Shopify about 2 years ago. And I would say that, along with Stefan, that the easeability of using a phone app for Shopify is probably one of my favorite things about it. It is easy to, snap a photo of your product, upload it within a minute. You have your product already up on your website and it's live. So that probably is one of the best things about it. I like the live view. For me, I want to see where my sales are coming. And so if I post something, say to my social media page, Instagram, Facebook, I'm able to get access to who is viewing my site by region, by state, across the world. So it's fun to kind of look at your live view and see how many people are viewing your site, how many people have an active cart, and then how many people purchase. And it's all right there on a view. So you can really look at your data. And then the easeability of shipping is another great feature with Shopify. It's 1-2 clicks, you put in your setting and it's printing a shipping label either to a computer or a thermal printer. So those are probably my top 3 things with Shopify.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How about Jason and Shanna?
Sure. We're primarily on Etsy and Amazon. We're on Handmade at Amazon. We've been on Etsy since like 2007. We've been on Handmade at Amazon since they launched in 2017. That's a little different than maybe just some standard brick and mortar stores, since we actually craft a lot of our products. Etsy is really very easy to set up, and a few years ago they launched a program called Patterns, so you can actually have a website entirely set up and you don't even have to be on the Etsy marketplace. But setting up a shop is very easy. You can and you can have your website where it really looks like a standalone website, but you manage your orders through Etsy. There are a couple shipping options that will combine all your platforms. They'll combine Shopify, Amazon, Etsy, all into one shipping process. There's a outfit called Pirate Ship out of Wyoming. And then there's a lot of folks also use ShipStation. So you don't really have to manage orders on multiple platforms as far as the shipping goes. Both of those places have large marketplaces. They're almost like independent markets. So we also are in the works of launching a Shopify as well. But when you have a standalone website, you really have to drive all your own traffic, where Amazon, especially Etsy, also have a large marketplace, which isn't to say that you can set up your shop and they'll just be busting down the doors. You still have to work hard at promoting your website, but you do have additional search capabilities. It's a giant pie. So those are probably like our favorite things. The setup costs are very low.
Thank you. How about Adam?
Thanks, Zoila. So our shop is a little bit different than some of the others that are on here. We're running WooCommerce, which is a plugin on a WordPress website. And we've had that in place for just a couple months now, but I was in the business of building websites for most of the last 10 years. So I went that route because I, number one, wanted a lot of control, and I can just do the work myself. So I don't mind putting in the time. But the piece that really was different for us, why I went with WooCommerce over some of the other tools that are out there that are really good tools, is because of the way we're running our store. We're not actually shipping products the way that a lot of you vendors might. We're doing home deliveries of locally grown food. And part of that means we're also listing products from, we've got about 12 different vendors or other producers that we're partnered with. We list all their stuff on their site, but we're not like buying it from them up front. So I really wanted to make it very clear which products belong to which vendors. And WooCommerce had some really good infrastructure to let me do that. So we could keep track of who has which products, make it clear to the customer who they're buying from, and really make it feel more like a virtual farmer's market, which was the intent. So it's a little bit different than than what I think a lot of the brick and mortar, just sell your products online and you're going to be able to, when you get an order, you just print out the packing slip and you ship that to them. I wish ours was that easy, because that really sounds pretty awesome. But we do a whole lot of other behind the scenes work to get our orders ready. And WooCommerce has worked pretty well for that. But I will say it's absolutely a lot more work and a lot more setup than some of these tools that the other folks have described. That if you don't need that kind of functionality, then that extra work may not be necessary.
Thank you. Okay, so our next question is, what are a few tips and tricks you have learned when dealing with this program? And we are going to start off with Kendra.
For me, I want my business online to look very uniform, I would say. So one of the biggest things is I have an app on my phone called Canva, and that really helps my business on my online presence look very cohesive. All the pictures are the same size. It just helps the viewer's eye when they go to my website to look at it and say, oh, everything's streamlined. Everything, looks the same. We use the same background. We use the same fonts. I think that probably, it sounds silly, but I think it really helps customers not be confused by busy backgrounds or busy things going on. It's just very streamlined. Everything is same sizes of pictures and fonts and photographs. So I would say that that's probably my favorite, or one of the tips that I have. And then just to take really good photographs too. Canva has it's just a good app for taking great photographs of your merchandise.
Kendra, what was that name again?
It's Canva, Canva, and it's a free app. You can upgrade for more features, but we just stick with the basics, and it's been pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Jason and Shanna, what's your guys' tips and tricks?
I would say just in general for e-commerce, response time is really key for customers, to have a variety of ways that they can contact you, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, even text or email. But they really are looking for a very quick response time to their questions. So that's probably my biggest suggestion.
Adam.
I think one of the biggest things I would say in terms of getting the most out of your store is to make sure that you're running something like Google Analytics to track customer patterns on your site, or some of the tools like Kendra mentioned. Your e-commerce solution might include some of those by default, which would also work. But I would say take just a little bit of time when you're mapping out what your store should be and write down what your goals are. I mean, what would be your sales goals to go through this store, and then try and equate that to what your site traffic should be, and then take the time to look at that. There's a lot you can learn from those insights. An example being just this last week when I was checking our analytics traffic for our store, I noticed that our actual sales through the store were down this week, which I think is because more and more people are just going to the in-person market, which is fine. So I'm not concerned about that. But the really interesting thing when I compared that to our actual site traffic is the sales were down about 30% week to week, but the traffic through the store was up more than 40%. So as you're trying to strategize and decide what you're doing with your e-commerce solution, that insight really, or the traffic patterns really tell you where you might need to adjust your website. In my case, what that says to me is we have a lot of people who are still interested in what we're doing. Maybe we just need to put some different products on there, or maybe so people are just either not finding what they want, or could be the pricing is too high, but the pricing hasn't changed. So set some goals and take the time to look at those analytics, because it can tell you a lot as to how your store is performing.
Thank you. Stefan.
Yeah, so for me, one, I think we already brought up the app, but the app has really changed kind of how I do business online, just being able to see everything, how things are moving. And then the other, for big commerce, it's easy just to click on an order and print the kind of the packaging label. So I have two guys that help me glaze. And so it's really, usually it's hard to kind of keep that communication really streamlined, but with that, I can print it, all the little notes of the orders on there, and then we can kind of run that through production. So I think those two things have been just super helpful in streamlining everything.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our next question is, how user-friendly is it to upload an item, and how well does it connect with your accounting or point of sale system? And we are going to start with Jason and Shanna.
Well, both of the platforms that we use, there's a couple different ways that you can add your inventory. You can, if you're familiar with inventory management by spreadsheet, you can upload it by a spreadsheet and do a bulk upload. Both platforms have the ability to copy listings, and then you can make alterations. Etsy does allow you to take mobile photos, although to Kendra's point, really product photos are probably the single most important thing for an online shop, in my opinion. So, I mean, the setup is very easy with Etsy. Amazon has a very high learning curve, and they're two very different marketplaces. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, Amazon's a little more challenging than Etsy, but they're really not that bad once you've done one or two or a couple of them. They're just repetitive. So once you get the first ones down, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you. Adam.
All right, so I'll say in general, WooCommerce can be pretty straightforward to work with. After having worked with different systems, I don't think it's as easy as some of the other tools that are being described here. And I've made my setup much more complicated just because of all the bells and whistles. So it can be pretty easy if you're looking to do a very simple store. Where I think WooCommerce excels is if you're looking to have a lot of control or a lot of features on your site that you specifically can define what it looks like, then WooCommerce is worth it. But if that's not the case, then it's definitely not as easy to connect to add products or to connect with your point of sale system as some of these other tools being described.
Thank you. Stefan.
So I don't connect mine. I don't connect my point of sale to my e-commerce store. I kind of keep them separate. So I have and then the website tracks everything for me, which is pretty sweet. And then I just kind of have two different sets of inventory, one for in-store, and we just kind of make per order. So that kind of helps kind of ease that strain on that system. And then there was a lot of kind of setup at the front end of using to upload an item and to get your pictures right and then get them in the right categories. But now that I have that set up, it's really easy just to go in there and kind of put it in the right category, put it in the right area, and then kind of manage those things as where they lay.
Kendra.
Shopify, I really feel probably has one of the easiest setups in terms of putting your products on there. It's extremely simple. You literally just put in your title, your description, your quantities. I also like that Shopify has a feature that has the cost for you, so you know what your profit margin is. So when you put something on sale, you know if you're still, within your profit margin that you want to stick with. You can also put in weights to help you with shipping. And then they have several variants. So say, you know, we're selling a shirt in multiple sizes. It's just easy to go in and say extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, double XL. It's all right in there. And including different colors, you can really have a lot of different variety with your products and how you set it up. And it also just links right with your shop. So once this product is sold, it's sold out of my store. I don't have any more. So it's easy to know exactly what we need to reorder or discount further, etc. So.
Thank you. Okay, so our next question is, when an item is purchased, how does it notify you and how do you send tracking information? And we are going to start with Adam.
All right, thank you. So this is one thing that I do really like about what we have set up is we get notifications by email when someone puts in an order. And so as the store manager, I get, let me step back for a moment, keeping in mind that we have products from a bunch of different vendors in our store. So one order placed by a customer may include some lettuce from us, or some salsa from one of our other vendors, and some coffee from yet another. So as the store manager, I get an email that itemizes the entire order. It says, this is what the order was. These are all the items that this customer purchased. It gives me their delivery address and all of that. But then separately, the system also generates an email notification to each vendor for their part of that order. So Matt Egging with Manchester Street Coffee, when someone places an order with his coffee, he gets an email notification saying someone's placed an order, here's exactly what they bought. So that's been really helpful because it keeps the other vendors in the loop on what they need to provide at the end of the week, just as the week goes on. But that's the main thing I would say is emails. I don't think the system would support like a text notification or anything of that sort. So it's all email driven.
Okay, thank you. Stefan.
So yeah, before I had the app, it would send an email. So every time I got an order, it was just a quick email. But there was a huge lag between the website and my email, or I just wouldn't get that notification. It was a really weird setup. But now that I have the app, again, that's kind of the best feature, is as soon as I get an order, it sends a push notification through the app, and then I can just click on that notification and see the order, see the items, and then see where it's going. And so I can kind of give a ballpark of when that's going to get done. And tracking information, I do want to set up ShipStation like Shanna does, but right now I just use the post office website. And so that'll pull up tracking information right there, and then I can add that to the order. But for the most part, I just kind of add it as I need to.
Thank you. How about you, Kendra?
Yeah, so the app for Shopify also has a push notification, so you get this nice little cha-ching, and you know you have an order. It's pretty gratifying. Etsy also has that, so it's. I know probably Shanna, you guys enjoy that cha-ching as well. We always go like, woohoo, praise the Lord. So that's always exciting, and then you get an email, and then the tracking for shipping is also, you can easily get it on the app. So it's pretty, you know immediately when you have an order.
How about Jason and Shanna?
Yes, and Etsy and Amazon, they both have seller apps. They both give you a auditory notification, cha-ching, if you will. We keep our seller portals open most of the time, and so we see that. You do get email notifications as well. We don't use that really a ton because our portal's already open.
Yeah.
No, it's all right.
I just look at our website and the order comes in. Usually it's almost instantaneous from the cha-ching. So and you can monitor it there.
And we typically print our orders first thing in the morning, and then we may do another run in the afternoon. And we kind of have a workflow set up off of that, what production area it goes to, and so on and so forth. They both of these platforms have internal shipping that is super easy to use, very easy. You can do bulk shipping. You can put in your item weights and your package dimensions. You can have all of that already preloaded. So really the only change you have to make is, you know, if you want to ship, most of our stuff ships first class. If somebody pays for expedited or priority shipping, we can make those modifications and stuff. But the shipping portion of it is very easy.
It is a little tricky though, because we do ship things to Amazon FBA, which is like Amazon Prime. It's only for handmade. It's like Prime and handmade, but that can be a little tricky at first getting set up to ship things there. So it's in bulk quantity.
Okay, thank you. So our next question is, how do you market your online store? How long did it take to start seeing results after you set it up? And or maybe what percentage of your sales are online? And we are going to start with Stefan.
So I really only use social media. So I try to be really active on Instagram and Facebook. And when I first started, I wasn't really going for sales. I was just going for awareness. And so that probably changed about a year ago. And then it really does, depending on the post and depending on how like people are engaged with that post, you can see a really big uptick. So I get kind of live feedback right away. If a post does really good, I'll just boost that. And then within the last 2 months, especially since this thing kind of kicked off the pandemic, I have seen a really big uptick in online orders. And that has kind of been, I would say, all over the country, which is, it was already there, but not quite as it has been. So I think that'll be a big change, which is good. Everyone who's on here is on online. And so if you're not, I think that's something you really need to consider. I think that'll be the big change after this thing is done. So.
How about Kendra?
Yeah, I would agree that social media, you have to just be really present on social media, posting frequently and things that people can get engaged with. And Stefan's right that you do see an immediate feedback from a post and kind of this like buzz generating around your website. That's one of the features, like I was explaining with Shopify, it has a live view. So you can really pinpoint your audience and say like, okay, right now Casper is hot. You know, most of my stuff ships in Wyoming because it's Wyoming apparel, but we also ship a lot to, you know, all over the country for Wyomingites who are living other places. But Stefan's right, through this whole pandemic, we've just seen such a huge rise in our online sales, shipping all over the place. And it really is a social media presence. Shopify does have a conversion rate of how many people are going to your store and how many people are purchasing, which is such a huge statistic that you really need to monitor, because that's showing, you know, who is going to buy your product and how many people visit your store and how many sales you're getting from those visits. That's probably one of my favorite features of it, just to see that data. I like data. I'm a data person, so it's enjoyable to me to look at those numbers. And it breaks it down by your post. So say I posted about a sweater or a hoodie, it'll say how many sales or how many people came by Facebook, how many people came by Instagram, how many people came by Twitter, or just generating directly from putting in our website. So social media is huge. You got to be on there.
Thank you. How about Jason and Shanna?
I would say that 70 to 80% of our business is online. I mean, the social media component is huge. It's almost like never ending. It really, you know, there's just so much that can be done. So my best suggestion is to find a platform that's natural for you. If that's Facebook or if it's Instagram, even Pinterest, you can do sellable pins. And start there if you're just starting, because the social media component can be overwhelming if you're not careful. And the other thing, we do advertising on both of the platforms that we're on, and we have seen a significantly better ROI on our advertising there than we have with like Instagram or Facebook ads. I know that those can be successful, but our platform-based advertising has been our best ROI.
Yeah, we lack in the social media. I mean, really, it's not the best. So that's good news, right? You can still get some sales and not have the best social media and still have room to improve, which is what we're hoping to do this next year. But we ship a lot. A lot of it is on FBA, which is Amazon Prime, basically for handmade, and so that's a key for us. That's I mean that's and then you just build your sales rank on that, and
So that's guys, that's dealing with Amazon, that's doing a lot of that advertising for you. Is that how you get that out?
Well, on Amazon, you can advertise your specific products. You can do, they have automated advertising where they will target people based on probably 1 million different analytics. And you can also do a manual advertising. So you can put in your own list of keywords that you want your products to show for. So we can put in Wyoming, Steamboat, Bucking Horse, Sheridan, Casper. We can just build the list.
I mean, all those keywords that drive traffic.
And so when somebody is searching on Amazon, the chances that they see our product go up.
You'll find too that you get that first sale on Amazon too, it generally triggers it and it goes high, and then more people see it, and then you more than likely get another sale from it, shortly after. So it's kind of just a momentum thing. But it's Amazon Prime and Amazon, or Amazon Handmade and regular Amazon. There's a fee for Amazon, regular Amazon, monthly fee of what? $40 a month.
To be a seller on, just standard items.
Yeah.
Amazon Handmade, you have to go through an application process, but.
Okay, well, thank you. And that leads us into our next and final question on, would you rank your platform on the more expensive side or less expensive side? And do you feel like you're getting a good return on your investment? So we're gonna start with Kendra.
Okay, just a minute. Did Adam have a chance to answer that one?
Oh, nope, he did not. I apologize.
Okay, if we could, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll echo that social media is a pretty important piece of this. And the reason is because for all of us as local business owners, one of the value propositions we offer over like a national chain is people know us already. They're engaged with our brands, they're engaged with our stores. They want to support us. And that's where social media is a great way to keep them in the loop. I would definitely agree with Jason and Shanna that don't worry about doing all of the social media all the time. If there's one that you're comfortable with, then pick that and do that well, because it comes down to keeping your customers engaged so that as you add things, they're really interested. They're going to go check the things out in your store. Two other quick things that I'll put in on that is e-blasts, e-newsletters can be a great thing. We're doing a weekly one because we have new products every week. So we're making a point of telling people what the new products are in the store. It wouldn't have to be a weekly thing. I would say quality over quantity. If you don't have something new to send, don't bother sending an e-blast. But use that to really target new announcements toward folks when you have something you want to drive them to. And then the last thing I'll say is on social media, if it's a post that's promoting your store, don't forget to link to your store in the post. I see a lot of folks who do that. They talk about what their store is, but then they don't actually link to their store in the post. That's a little difficult to do on Instagram because you can't put clickable links in your posts unless you're paying for it, but you can still link to it in your bio or just put the link and people can copy that in. So those are the quick things I had on that.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, so now our final question. Would you rank your platform on the more expensive side or less expensive side? And do you feel like you're getting a good return on your investment? And we'll start with Kendra.
I do feel like Shopify is pretty inexpensive. I would say that my investment is I feel comfortable with what I pay Shopify to do. And I think that just having everything under one umbrella, so all of my shipping, all of my, my listings, that's to me the most important that I can easily, because we do have a second site in Casper. So we really have to monitor our inventory really well so that we're not over ordering or selling things that we don't have. So I would say that Shopify is fairly cheap and is easily set up and a good return on the investment. So,
thank you. Jason and Shanna.
I had one thing to add to what Adam said, which is that a lot of POS systems now give you the opportunity to collect customer emails, which is a fantastic way to connect with the people who have physically been in our stores via, email and newsletters and stuff like that. So.
Aren't there rules though with Amazon?
Yeah, that one downside to Amazon, and Etsy makes it a little hard. Amazon does not share emails at all with customers. So you definitely do not own your customer base the same way. We do in our labeling give links to contact us, our social media links and stuff. And we do get engagement from a lot of people that way. We'll get Facebook messages or Instagram. We'll get tagged in a lot of Instagram stories and stuff like that from that. But that is definitely a downside to those two platforms. As far as the cost, these two platforms are very transactional. One charges a small listing fee, the other does not, but they charge a portion of your transaction. They don't have monthly fees though, and you don't necessarily have to pay for web hosting or some of the other things that you do with some other platforms. So in that regard, you save some money in one place, you spend it in another. Mm-hmm. But we're both, I think, satisfied with the trade-off. They're big marketplaces, and that for us is worth a lot to have our products in that big of a space for people to find us.
And we're also creating a Shopify website too, and they make it real easy. Shopify does to transition your Etsy shop over. I mean, it's almost like just grab the whole thing, and it almost looks like your Etsy shop, or it can. But the big thing on the Shopify, and there's a lot of websites out there, a lot of YouTube videos, all that stuff that helps set it up. But it's just the main thing is when you're starting is to choose the platform that you're going to want to use from there on out. So, and you don't really need to know a lot about Java or anything. It's pretty straight, or HTML. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, there's a lot of stuff
there are a lot of templates that make it fairly easy to set up. Yeah. But everybody has a different level of comfort with technology to begin with. I will say that when we do launch our Shopify, we will not leave the other two platforms. We will remain on those because I feel that they have a value, in addition to everything else. But.
Thank you. And then our next one, it will be Adam.
Yes, thank you. So in terms of cost, I think one of the nice things about WooCommerce is it is pretty scalable. It's one of those where the base infrastructure is a free plugin that you can add to your WordPress site. So it can be done for no extra cost above and beyond your website. So in our case, all we really paid for to begin with was our website hosting and our domain name. And then I built the site and then added WooCommerce. But then as you get a feel for what you want your store to do and what features might make your life easier, then there are different paid features out there on WooCommerce. But it's a lot easier to just add the features you want and pay for those rather than pay a lot of money for a very robust solution where you might only use 10% of the features. So I'd say it's scalable. Ours is probably on a bit of the lower end, even with some of the add-ons that we paid for.
Thank you. Stefan?
Yeah, so I think I pay maybe like around $30 a month or so. And so I do see a return on investment. Just having an online presence, like everyone said, is super important. And then I did have a local designer set up a landing page for me. So that was through WordPress. And then that landing page, I still pay for that, like web hosting for that, which is kind of like a wrapper is what I've heard. If you relate it to food, it's like the wrapper of your website is that landing page. And then that landing page takes them directly to my online shop. So I do have those two things, but for the most part, I would say it's under like $35 a month, which isn't bad.
Great, thank you. So now I'm going to open it up for questions, and I'm going to start with Dixie Johnson, and she has a question. Thank you.
All right, Zoila, thank you very much. And also thanks to DSA for partnering with us on this. I know Zoila may have to jump off a little early because she has another meeting that she's starting at 9:30. But from the chat, we had a question that came in, and it was to anybody, but how much time do you market to new customers versus existing customers? And who on our panel would like to take that?
I guess I can. So that data that I was talking about, we use a system with our, when you subscribe to our page or you purchase something, it usually generates an email. So we use MailChimp. And if it's a first time, MailChimp is super easy to use. And you can integrate your contacts really easy in there. Actually, Shopify has an immediate integration tool with MailChimp. And if you're a first-time customer, we've put in there, thanks for using us for the first time. Here's 10% off your next order code or coupon, as well as we can use MailChimp. Like if somebody abandons their cart and they're, they go off and they do something else, like we all do, get distracted. And we, can send after a certain amount of hours, an email say, hey, don't forget about your cart. You have amazing things in there. So there's that tool that you can definitely use. And then I think it's just using your social media platforms to help spread the word when you need to kind of get some more involvement and engagement with new customers.
All right, thank you. Do any of our other panelists want to answer that?
I would just put my 2 cents in. I think, like Kendra said, just having a good social media, like if you're in terms of marketing to new customers and like old customers, if you're active on social media, you're going to hit those old customers all the time anyway. And so I think it's easier to focus on new customers if you're active on social media, because your customers are going to kind of watch and see what you're doing anyway. And so if you're generating excitement about what you're doing, those guys will see that. Then you can also really focus on generating new kind of viewers and new eyes to what you got going on.
All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and open it up to questions. Does anybody who is on the session today have questions for any of our panelists? If you do, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you can direct it to any of the panelists or a specific one.
So what I was hearing was that the cost for this seems to be, the sales offset what it cost you to do this? Is that kind of a positive statement or a true statement? Anyone?
I'm not sure I'm understanding. Can you?
Well, Shauna, I mean, the money that you spend for these sites, do you feel like, you know, how I say it, in other words, it's worth it?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, you know, I mean, the ratio, maybe that's what I'm trying to say. And the time you spend. I guess how much time do you spend on these sites?
That's, I think that's a really good question. And Monty, so I was I was giving a similar presentation for another group and had a similar question come up in terms of basically what should someone spend on a website, because it all comes down to, as you said, it's time and or money, and none of us have an unlimited supply of each. So I guess the kind of formula that I came up with, and this is purely just what I put together from my own experience, in terms of deciding what you want to spend on your website is, like I said before, and this is just a very fast rule, take a swing at what you think your site, your e-commerce store should do for you in gross revenue over, I would suggest, about the next 2 years, because that's probably about how long you'd want it to last without any major updates. I mean, you still have your ongoing stuff, but take a run at what your revenue goal would be for the next 2 years, and make sure you're working with your net revenue, not gross revenue. And then that net revenue, I would say, is the maximum budget you want to spend on your site, either to launch it or in terms of your ongoing costs, because it should break even. Once you have that in place, that will then help you decide whether it's worth your time to pay someone to help you set up the site and run some things, or whether you need to do more of the work yourself. Because a lot of this work you can do yourself, a lot of it you can pay someone to do, and it comes down to how much money you think the store will make. If your store is going to make you $20,000 over the next 2 years, then maybe it's worth your time to pay someone up front if you have that money on hand. If you're looking to just dip your toes in the water, then I would suggest start small. Start with one of the less expensive options. Maybe do a little more of the work yourself, or ask someone to help you out, and see what you can do with it. And I would just say, in general, you do get out what you put into it. That's why the social media stuff is pretty important. If you don't do that kind of engagement work to put the word out there, people won't just show up to your site for no reason. They have to have a reason to go there. So that would be kind of my, I guess, my rule of thumb for how you decide how much time and effort to spend on your site up front.
And along with that too, I think that it's important that you really thoughtfully plan what you want your site to look like. We started 3 months on Shopify before we went live with it, just feeling it out. You know, I asked family members to come be, you know, you can send a link before it's live and say, hey, check out our website. Does this look okay? Does this feel okay? Were you confused? What did you think of the photographs? What, you know, and I really took about 3 months before it went live to just make sure that it is, number one, user friendly, and that people understand my business from the very first time they see it, and what we're about, and really take that front end time to get it right. So then your customers aren't confused later on and like, is this a new whole site? You know, when you're making changes. So that's one of a great feature, and something that I highly recommend is feel it out first, and don't go live, and just really get a good feel for your website before you push that live button.
Well, and I thank you for that, because I got to thinking, you know, in all of life, that first image is a lot of what determines everything we do. So it probably on your website, you've got that one shot maybe to catch them. And if you didn't, you know, you put the time like you said, you want something that catches them. So spend that time to make it, to grab them. That was all I had. I'm sorry.
Dixie's muted.
Dixie, I think you're still muted.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So does anybody have any other questions for any of our panelists? Okay. I guess one question I would pose to all the panelists is really overall, if you could answer, how has getting your products online helped your business, and what one piece of advice would you give to those who are considering it? One or two pieces of advice even to help them get theirs online. And go ahead, whoever wants to go first.
I guess we'll go first then. I would just say that there are a ton of different solutions out there for all levels of, for all different scenarios and comfort levels, from the most sophisticated, like Adam talks about, and we've been online for a long time, and I don't even begin to try to understand everything that would go into what he does, to some very straightforward, simple solutions that are fairly easy and quick to set up for people who do not have a lot of experience with technology. So, there's been a great kind of sampling of some different pros and cons and different platforms here. But there's a lot of conversation and YouTubes and all kinds of information out there. So I hope that nobody goes away feeling overwhelmed with this. It's definitely doable. For us, we started online, so the brick and mortar is the secondary for us. But we've grown. Over the years, we've just gotten better, and that's just constant. We continue to get better. We continue to, work. It's just for never-ending possibilities. But we've shipped, around the world. I think we only are missing like one continent. So
Right.
It is pretty.
Antarctica, but we're going there this year. It's going to happen.
It is pretty amazing, though, that we can live in a place like this and we can still reach people around the world. And I do think it's super fun, Kendra, when you ship like Wyoming stuff to places like Australia. And it's just really neat. So we have, it's really been a huge blessing for us. So I would encourage everybody to, continue to do the research and ask questions. I think everybody here has a spot you could probably stop in and pick their brains a little bit about what might fit, but it has been a huge blessing for us.
I'll go next. I would say, so you heard several of us talk about the importance of strategy. The reason why I would say that's important is because it gives you a roadmap of what you're trying to achieve. When you have that in place, do the bare minimum that it takes to get there and pick the easiest tools, because it's okay to keep in mind that I think for the most part, none of us on this call are in the business of building websites. We have other businesses that we want to do. I was in the business of building websites. There's a reason I don't do that anymore. I like growing plants instead. It's much easier. So like Shannon was saying, you don't feel intimidated and don't feel like you have to jump in to all these bells and whistles. Just get your mind right on what you want to achieve and then find the easiest ways to do that. And you don't have to worry about doing more. Just do what it takes to get there, and then focus the rest of your day-to-day life on, on running the store that you actually want to run.
All right. Kendra, do you want to go next since Stefan is on the move, it looks like?
I totally agree. I mean, I think that there are platforms out there for every single comfort level, and you really need to like look at yourself and say, okay, I have the ability to do this, and really know what your comfort is on some of these technical, more advanced levels. I know I could never build a website, that's for sure, but I can take really good photos and upload them on an app. So I would just say, yeah, you got to, just do what is comfortable for you. Not, my strategy might not work for everybody else. And so I think that it's important that you know yourself and what you want to achieve, like set goals. Our goals were that we wanted to, in the first 6 months have 1,000 sales or something. And we didn't quite meet that. And it's okay. You just you want to set goals and make sure that you can reach those goals, but definitely look at your store, what you want to serve. And it's the most gratifying thing in the world when you see your stuff going to different, around the world, literally. And especially through this pandemic, it was really heartwarming to see people reach out and say, oh, I need a Wyoming shirt because I need something that reminds me of home right now because I can't get there. I mean, those are things that's the icing on the cake. So just know yourself and reach out, because I mean, all of us, we are here to help. And I think that that's another thing, is just reaching out and saying, I need help. I don't know how to do this.
All right. Thanks, Kendra. And Stefan?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's been really cool. Just like everyone else says, having those things go out and feeling like, what you're doing kind of makes an impact with other people is really cool. But also just having my kid, a place for people that kind of see what you're up to and see those things has really been a big help and a big boost, especially in the last 2 months. So I think it's just kind of being aware of what you have and what you have to offer. Even if it seems small, like it can really engage with people in a cool way. So just finding certain things that work for you is really important.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so I went ahead and did a screen share. And as we close out, although Eric Kolvinskas did have to jump off, our experts, I really want to thank our panel, our experts, the Downtown Sheridan Association, and those of you who joined us today. Here's the contact information from all of our panelists and Eric Kolvinskas, if anybody does have any, as well as, it looks like we have a Melissa Butcher with Confluence, and then Johnny Law, who couldn't jump on today. They all wanted to let everybody know that they are available and are happy to help, give advice, share ideas, resources, whatever it takes. Thank you all, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and hope to see you on another Zoom meeting or maybe in person very soon.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks, Dixie. Thanks,
Thank you.
Dixie.
Bye-bye.
Mhm.